Third way is targeting Piker as a part of a broader effort to keep the Democratic Party under control of big corporations, the ultra wealthy, and supporters of Israel, no matter what the party's base wants. Is he a generally popular, known person in the States, like by the average person? I'm not America, and I never once heard of this guy mentioned in real life. I saw it Reddit. I'm curious. Edit went to sleep and didn't expect so many responses. He's one of the most vocal anti-Zionist voices when it comes to political streamers, and the Israeli lobby trying to keep him out of the party. That's literally all this is. They're desperate. Hasan isn't perfect, but just like with Ilhan Omar, seeing all the smear campaigns against him have been so insane. He's been on the right side of history for a lot of issues, even when it's unpopular, like with Israel's genocide back on October 7th. And he's been a staunch supporter of marginalized rights and leftist policies. Plus, it's been nice seeing him start using his audience to help out politicians like Zoran, Rashida Tlaib, Abdul El-Sayed. Genuinely confused. The Dems really think the left is ops. Yes, they have tremendous disdain for their base. Understand this. They hate people that demand things from them. Because the Democratic Party, first and foremost, is still a corporate-aligned party. They are still a capitalist party. So everything that the base wants from them is anti-capitalist in nature, even if it's not like to become a card-carrying Marxist-Leninist party or whatever. Like, I'll give you one example. Healthcare. There is broad bipartisan consensus on keeping healthcare private in this country within the political class. Democrats, overwhelming majorities of Democrats, want to keep healthcare private. The entirety of the Republican Party also wants to keep healthcare private. They do. Whereas the overwhelming majorities of the base of support in both the Republican, but certainly the Democratic Party, want a socialized medical system. So Democrats want to identify other areas of difference between the Republicans and Democrats to keep getting a lot of support from their base. But anyone that changes the conversation or the dynamic of the conversation back to, demanding free healthcare, Medicare for all, for example, is seen as someone who is going to ruin the situation for them, because they're no longer going to get the unlimited money that they get from private healthcare providers in terms of corporate sponsorships, corporate lobbying money. Previous chatter couldn't see how they're using you as a sub-in to support for anti-Zionism. Yeah, polls show that the next generation of Democrats is much more open to socialist and anti-Zionist politics. Pressuring candidates not to appear on Piker's show won't reverse that. So I asked New York City's preeminent journalist of the Democratic Socialist Movement and a reporter who first broke the news that Mamdani was considering a run for mayor, Peter Stern, of City and State New York, about Piker and the Democratic Party. Stern explained, polls show that the next generation of Democrats is much more open to socialist and anti-Zionist politics. Pressuring candidates not to appear on Piker's show won't reverse that trend, and I think politicians who recognize the contours of this new Democratic coalition are the ones who will have success in the future. That's right. That's where we're at. They are just running a practice run that they will deploy against AOC or whoever is the anti-Zionist candidate in 2028. It will be her. I think so too. CARE also is upping the pressure on Senator Slotkin. Today, we sent a letter to Senator Slotkin calling her to apologize for hypocritically embracing Bill Maher just days after she condemned the Muslim politician for associating with Hassan the Hun. Mr. Maher has a long history of unrepented anti-Arab racism and anti-Muslim bigotry, not to mention the fact that this man literally said the N-word on live television and openly supports the genocide. Here are just a few of his other greatest hits, with some Democratic politicians apparently consider acceptable discourse. Talk to women who have ever dated an Arab man. The results are not good. President Obama keeps insisting that ISIS is not Islamic. Well, maybe they don't practice the Muslim faith in the same way that he does. The most popular name in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, this was in the news last week, was Muhammad. Am I a racist to feel that I'm alarmed by that? Because I am. If vast numbers of Muslims across the world believe, and they do, that humans deserve to die for merely holding a different idea or drawing a cartoon or writing a book or eloping with the wrong person, not only does the Muslim world have something in common with ISIS, it has too much in common with ISIS. And I think that what us 9/11 liberals say is, yes, is about this. Yes, it is about this one religion because it is different. Associating all of Islam with 9/11 and ISIS. That's what Bill Maher does with regular frequency. None of these guys have an issue with that because Bill Maher is a relentless ultra-Zionist, so they don't care. Islamophobia doesn't have the same institutional stigma that anti-Semitism does. That's what the problem is here, right? These are both bigotries. I combat both, ironically enough. Bill Maher does not. Bill Maher, unironically, foments Islamophobia. Bill Maher also originally was a big-time 9/11 guy right after 9/11, but that's besides the point. And we'll get back to the Abdul El-Sayed take, but of course, is anyone surprised that Democrat a Democrat Senate candidate named Abdurrahman Mohammed El Sayed sides with the Ayatollah over America. What the hell is a big-time 9/11 guy? Bill Maher famously, right after, in the same week that 9/11 happened, went on national television and said, those hijackers were brave. You know what's not brave? Lobbing Tomahawk missiles from thousands of miles away. That's not brave. Like it or hate it, what those hijackers did was brave. And he got fired for it. Anyway, we're going to get the situation monitoring now, but this has been a spectacular mistake for the Democrats in general that are leaning into this, because we're in a very, very different media environment now. We're in a very different media environment, one where people are much more privy to, much more in tune with what's going on, one where they are very skeptical of mainstream narratives in general. So coming after someone like myself in this way is only going to boost my profile, while simultaneously doing nothing for the candidates. As a matter of fact, create unnecessary enmity for the fucking candidates that are leaning on the other side of a 90-10 issue. Since this illegal and unjustifiable war started, we watched 13 brave service members lose their lives. We watched our tax dollars wasted to raise our gas prices. We're paying over $1 a gallon more, making life even more unlivable. Americans are paying with their lives and livelihoods for a war MAGA swore they'd never take us into. The fact that a right-wing news outlet may have illegally and unethically obtained a deliberation about how to talk about this by way of a disgruntled former employee is only a distraction. They're distracting from the fact that Donald Trump, Mike Rogers, the entire MAGA base doesn't want to talk about the pain they're forcing us all into. This is, of course, coming off the heels of this Washington Free Beacon post. Abdul El Sayed saying he needed to stay silent on Khamenei killing because of Michigan's Muslims. Okay. This is a 35-minute recording where one of his employees, I guess former staffers, literally recorded the entire conversation and then gave it to the Washington Free Beacon as an attack ad. Okay. And of course, all of these people that are desperate to terror jacket a Muslim Senate candidate, okay, are leaning into it. They're saying, oh, he loves the Ayatollah. Eliana Johnson, for our editor-in-chief of Free Beacon, reports, exclusive audio, Michigan's left-wing Democratic Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed told staffers he wanted to avoid making a public statement about the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei because there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad. Okay, if reporters pressed him to take a position, El Sayed said he would change the subject to Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just going to go straight to pedophilia, frankly. I'll just be like, pedophile president decides what he doesn't like the front page news, so he decides to take us into another war. There's nothing even, austerity is theft says, there's nothing even controversial in what he said. This is the pro-Israel right trying to spin smart, sober, private campaign analysis about a breaking news event about a historically unpopular Trump-Israel war crime in the most racist way imaginable, as Muslims in cahoots. People should actually watch the non-headline leak tape for themselves, and it becomes really clear what the headline is about. McMorrow Stevens, the DSCC, and the Israel lobby waging one of the most racist smear campaigns we've seen in Michigan since Barack Hussein Obama ran in 2008. And they're doing it because Abdul is the only candidate running to represent Michigan in the U.S. Senate and not Israel. So let's take a look at what the Washington Free Beacon came out with, okay? What is this? Abdul spotted with country's most popular streamer who represents views of the electorate. We spent months saying we need to win back. Here's why this Dem congressman is mad. It wasn't a transphobic right-wing podcaster instead. Yeah. Let's look at the Free Beacon article real quick, and then we'll look at the rest of it. We'll look at the actual original. We'll look at the original piece, but this is the 17 seconds that they clipped for the article.
This is going to destabilize the region. I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. I don't think it's worth even touching that.
It's very obvious that he's not even talking about just Khamenei, okay? He's saying that there are a lot of people in Dearborn that are sad, as in not just because of Khamenei, but because America fucking blew up a school, okay? Lighting the entire region on fire. That's it. And he's right. You look at the fucking polls on the first day, and it was overwhelmingly unpopular. Overwhelmingly unpopular. El Sayed did not say that they're sad about Khamenei, but about the U.S. starting a war. That's the smear right there. Exactly. This smear isn't a scandal. I was sad that the U.S. attacked Iran. It's mass murder. That's a sad thing. This candidate isn't a psychopath who cheers death. Gotcha. It's crazy. The scandal is they're trying to terror jacket. They're trying to say that these scary Muslims amongst us are actually not afraid of what like another fucking endless war in the Middle East is going to spell for their futures in America, especially in Dearborn, right? But they're just all like super pro Ali Khamenei, super pro Iran. They're just scared that America is going to militarily dominate Iran. It's the most cynical way to behave like this, behave in this incredibly Islamophobic, incredibly racist way. Same centrist Dems were cheering on this war at the start. No, even the centrist Dems have been like at least trying to create acceptable criticism while they were quietly cheering it on. Even the centrist Dems were like, oh, this is Israel's war. What are you talking about? Even the centrist Dems, one, openly recognized that this was Israel's war, and two, said Donald Trump is not following the process. Donald Trump is not following the process. That was their way of trying to be like, we kind of like this, but also we also recognize that, you know, we can't be fully in support of it. If reporters pressed him to take a position, he said he would change the subject of Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just going to go straight to pedophilia, frankly, El Sayed said. I'll just be like, pedophile president decides what he doesn't like on the front page news, so he decides to take us into another war. Great retort, by the way. Did you say terror jacket? Terror jacket, like a jacket that you wear. Like claiming someone is, smearing someone by falsely claiming that they're a terrorist. Something that I receive all the fucking time. His remarks came during a conference call with communications team on March 1st, during which the candidate and his communications team discussed his messaging on Operation Epic Fury. Look, this was his take.
Right. And the line to me is, whatever you think of the Ayatollah, whatever you think of the Iranian regime, none of that justifies American military unilaterally partnering with a foreign government to assassinate him without an imminent threat.
You think that's a bad line? That's a bar. That is literally the majority position. That is the overwhelming majority position. It's not only the moral position, it's not only the correct position, but it happens to be the most popular position. How many times are we gonna have to fucking deal with this shit where they clip chimp a Muslim Senate candidate who is correct, who is literally reflective of the moral center of American politics right now? We listened to a lot of the call with Sean, and all it did was prove that this guy's principled. Of course.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the question is, well, I don't want to say legally, because then you look mealy-mouthed about like, oh, you're sure I got a war powers resolution. Fuck that. Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like,
see, even here, he's saying, like, I don't even want to talk about the process, right? I don't even want to bring up the fact that this is, like, not according to process. He's just straight up saying this is immoral, this is unjustifiable, this is ridiculous. That is the moral center, okay? That's straight up him addressing exactly how many Americans feel. This is responsive politics. This is responsive politics. It's disgusting, but like I said, it's coming so clearly from a right-wing op that is pro-Trump and pro-Israel that this will harden Abdul al-Sayed's support, okay? And you're going to see a lot more shit like this. Is anyone surprised that a Democrat Senate candidate named Abdurrahman Mohammed al-Sayed sides with the Ayatollah over America? These guys are unironically engaging in rank Islamophobia without recognizing that what Abdul al-Sayed is saying, Muslim style, is what many Americans feel, okay? That's it. That's it. That's precisely what's going on here. The problem is no one will play the audio. They'll just read the headline. No, it doesn't matter because it's coming from a right-wing op. It's objectively a pro-Trump. Washington Free Beacon is pro-Trump. So yes, while most people don't see beyond the headlines, what they do see is, oh, this is Fox News. This is right-wing. This is bullshit. This is a Democratic primary that we're talking about. It's a Democratic primary in the state of Michigan where a lot of the Democratic Party voters expressed their resentment towards the administration behaving in an Islamophobic manner, okay? You have to remember that. Michigan was lost specifically because of Kamala Harris's appeals to the center. That was a big part of the reason why Michigan was lost. So for them to like rerun that so close to 2024 when that wound has not healed yet, it's a spectacular failure. Most people are absolutely tuned into this shit. Most Michiganders that don't want Republicans to win are going to see this stuff, are going to see these attacks, and they're going to be reminded of why they lost Michigan. Most Democrats in Michigan, okay? They're not going to want to repeat that mistake again. Michiganders are not running around going, oh, we just didn't pivot to the center hard enough. We didn't go pro-Israel hard enough. They're aware of what the fuck's up. They're aware of why they lost. They don't want to repeat it again. They don't want another Kamala Harris mistake. I kind of disagree. I think the majority of America's position is we shouldn't be in this war because it doesn't help America directly, not because it was wrong for us to kill him or really anything to do with him. No, this has nothing to do with Khamenei. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're purposely getting duped by the right-wing framing if you think that this is about Khamenei. Do you understand? His position here is not about, oh, I'm so sad that Khamenei was assassinated. And my argument is not even about what Abdul El-Sayed's position is anyway. My argument is about the fact that Michiganders recognize that this is a fucked up war that we're waging at the behest of Israel so close after the 2024 defeat. Michigan Democrats are anti-Israel. Speed is a bigger political commentator than you. Unlike you, he actually visited Africa and talked about neocolonialism. True.